back to the Good Leader Podcast. We've been on a little bit of a hiatus. How long has it been, Dave?
It's been about 4 weeks, actually.
Been like 4 weeks. We did some remodeling. There's a recovery center.
We do have a recovery center in Gas Station now.
And Dave says, take a shower before you use the dirty motherfuckers.
Hygiene is key, please. A lot of people have to use those tubs.
We have a special guest today, Shane Thompson.
Yeah, Thompson.
Yep. He's going to tell us about his journey for weight loss. He lost 150 pounds.
Yeah, just shy.
Just shy of 150 pounds. And how that, I like how he worded it, how he was then, how he is now, and his journey, how he got there. So we've been already having the conversation. We'll just jump back into it.
Yeah, for sure. I guess to just give a little bit of context behind all that. So I'm 39 years old. About a year and a half ago, I was about 370 pounds, a little over 370 pounds. Big dude, right? I've always been a big guy. Like even when I came out of high school, I played football and all that kind of stuff. But I came out of high school probably weighing 280, and kind of like ran into the common thing that pretty much everybody runs into these days of, your job's not conducive to like keeping fit. I work in technology. I'm sitting all day long. End up having kids and all that kind of stuff, and things kind of spiraled out of control, right? That's how you kind of inevitably end up at that, that weight where I was at, 370. And so, that was kind of actually, what I wanted to talk about today. It's my journey from 370 to where I'm at right now. I'm at 228. I'm going to probably lose another 8-10 pounds here, kind of see where we get at. I'm kind of at that phase where like weight's a little less of my concern and more of like, what do I want to look like? How do I want to feel? Which is actually kind of a nice experience for me to be able to think about that kind of stuff.
Like how buffed I want to be.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So.
All right, cool. So what I think I already kind of had asked you the question, like what was it one event or a series of events that led you to kind of make that decision? And some of the like I guess what were the negative aspects of you not before the weight loss, and what were the positive aspects that you saw after that? Because sometimes you tell people like, hey, you like work out, but they think you're like lying when you say it'll give you more energy. They think it's like a make believe thing, like you're making it up, and you're like, no, I'm not making this up. I'm telling you.
For sure. I definitely would have fallen into that boat as well. Before I did all this stuff, because I've never been as fit as I am right now. Even when I was in high school, I've never been this fit, and so. I think to kind of start off where we were actually in the conversation before, to talk about, some of the just even the negatives of being the size that I was. You're constantly considering everything when you're at that size. At 370, I was giving you kind of like the example. I travel a lot. I go on airplanes and stuff like that. And you're thinking before you get on the plane, you're like, man, there's going to be an uncomfortable experience for the next 5 hours as I'm flying to New York, which, to be fair, it's always uncomfortable on a plane. But when you're that big, like it's, you're rubbing shoulders with people, it sucks.
Not just shoulders at that point.
Shoulders and bellies and everything else, right? And, it kind of permeates everything in your life, from just your mentality, how you think about things, how you think about yourself. And, even that wasn't necessarily like all of the picture in terms of like, why I kind of wanted to make this decision. Obviously, when you're at that weight, there are health considerations to those types of things too, right? I was taking blood pressure medicine, I was taking cholesterol medication, and a couple of other things as well. And, the one thing I knew as I started kind of like doing research into it, I'm a very analytical kind of person, right? That's why I work in the tech field. And, the one thing that we've studied the most out of everything is weight and how much that impacts everything in your metabolism, your health, everything. And I realized I was like, the only way I'm going to get out of this stuff is if I actually put in the time and effort to make the change, right? And it's really hard when you're as big as I was to make that kind of change, because I could lose 30 pounds and you wouldn't notice. Like when you're 370 and you go down to 340, like you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, I'm the same person. And there does become a point in all of that though, where you start to see change. You'll see change in your face. You'll see change in, your arms, your body, stuff like that. And those are the types of things that like really kind of like get you going in all of this stuff. And so, as I've lost weight, I've gotten off that blood pressure medication. I've gotten off of all this cholesterol medication. The amount of energy that I have right now is insane. I haven't taken any tests or anything like this, but I'm sure my testosterone's changed
definitely.
And I can just tell you just by the way I feel on a day-to-day basis that's changed. I used to be the kind of person that like, I'd wake up in the morning and I'd always just kind of like be groggy, and 2-3 o'clock would roll around and I'd want to like, just go crash out on the couch or whatever. I'm not like that anymore. Like I want to get out. I want to go do things. I'm not afraid to do things, which is also kind of like an interesting thing that's come out of this. Like,
confidence.
Like if I can go an entire year of just working out the way that I've been working out, really putting in the effort. If I can do that, and if I can lose 145 pounds, like I can do anything.
Yeah, well, even when Dave told me, he was like, "Oh, my friend Shane, he wants to do the podcast," and I was like, "Oh, when does he want to do?" He said, "Oh, tomorrow." He said he'll do it, and I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." I said because a lot of times when we ask someone, there's like somewhat hesitation or this and that, but it's like so that kind of tells me, I was like, "Oh, that's cool," not having to actually like really like prompt someone to do it or like not build them up, but kind of like any nervousness just in like more. And I think the right that confidence, like you said, you already sound like a smart person when you talk about the AI stuff. It's just now it's like adding that confidence layer to it. And now being like you said, you feel like you can do anything once you've done something hard. I try to explain that to people that haven't been through, not that they haven't been through hard stuff, but they don't look at it like that. They don't look at it like a challenge. They look at it like, oh, this sucks. And I'm like, bro, it's like a video game basically. You're like leveling up, and the more you do, the more you can push yourself to do, because now you know you're capable. And once you know you're capable, that it like opens up so many doors for you.
I also find when you like nail down some kind of like a win like that, I mean, it ultimately a lot of times it ends up being something that you actually want to share with other people.
Momentum.
Well, that was actually why when this whole thing came up, was why I jumped on it. Is like, I want everybody to experience what I'm experiencing right now. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of like the important thing for me. I mean, I have 2 sons, right? Like I want them to experience this. I don't want them to have to experience the, being 370, being way overweight and out of shape and all that kind of stuff. I want them to know like that there's really only good on the other side of becoming healthy, right? Like the downsides, all right, maybe you're restricting a little bit of what you're eating, paying attention, like obviously I count calories, I'm tracking my macros, doing all the kind of stuff that you need to do, but like the benefits of everything else far outweigh all of that. And like, the thing about it is it's not hard. You just have to commit to it, right? And the thing about that is that the more you do it, the less of a commitment it is. I know that sounds kind of like counterintuitive, but like
it's habit. It's a when people talk about diets or working out, I'm like, it's not a diet. It has to be a lifestyle for you. Like it has to be part of who you are. But what you said, you hit the nail on the head, is like for like your kids or who the people that are looking to you for inspiration. If like you can't tell someone that, I always just feel like this. If I saw a dad coaching his kids and they weren't in shape, I'm like, how are you yelling at your son about not running? He can't run. You know what I mean? And I wasn't trying to be mean. It's just more like a lot of the whole basis of the podcast and the brand is kind of built off of that, of like, we can't be weak men, not because it's not, or you can have feelings, you can be loving, but to be just like the worst version of yourself, that doesn't help anyone around you. You become a liability. You know what I mean? And then when you feel better by yourself, you're stronger. And like you said, for your kids, you're kind of telling them like, hey, I don't want you to feel uncomfortable in these situations. And sometimes people don't know, they got to go through their own little stuff, but then you're there to say, see, like, hey, let me help you, let me guide you along.
And we've touched on this before, where it's like it's nearly impossible to impart like a behavior onto somebody else if you're not some kind of an example of it.
Absolutely. And the thing about this too that you kind of have to also realize is, I mean, you were talking about, like for me, it's kind of become a part of my identity, right? It is now, like, being healthy is now who I am. It's not even a choice that I'm making anymore. Like, I've made the choice. I'm on the other end of that. This is now just kind of like who I am. When I wake up in the morning and, I'm like, all right, I need to go for a walk. Like, it's not even I need to go for a walk. It's I want to go for a walk. Like, I know, going outside, walking for 2.5 miles around, like that's going to make me feel good. I'm going to feel good after all of that. And like, it just becomes a part of your identity. And like, really everything does become easier on the other end. Because the other thing about all this stuff, you were talking about kind of like being kind of a strong, man, person, however you want to think about that. Like, it all starts with just like taking the first step and then just consistency, right? Like, I've failed at this many times, right? Like, let's be real about that. Like, I've being 370 for as long as I was, of course I tried many times before to kind of like make this happen. The difference between all those other times and this time is I just knew that I needed to kind of trust the process and just be consistent, right? I mean, I put together a plan. I'm in the gym 5 days a week, and I just stuck to that. Know that I need to track my macros, and there's a bunch of things around that actually made me like more successful than previous times. And just staying consistent, and it ended up becoming a point where like I'm now in the gym and I don't think about it. I'm actually thinking the opposite. I'm like, man, I want to go to the gym. I want to go to the gym, which is like a massive transformation. And once you start kind of getting into that mindset, and a little bit of, my friend is in the military, they have this kind of like term of, just embrace the suck, you know, like you kind of have to just do that a little bit. Yeah. And then on the other end, it's always going to be worth it.
Yeah, and that's what I tell you, because I went to the military, and that's where I kind of learned it. And I tell people, because a lot of people are like, oh, the military, they're trying to do. And I said, you know what? I said, whatever you take from the military, I said the things I learned from it were about your mind is stronger than your body. Like if you learn that you can push yourself to limits and do things that you never thought you could do, if you're willing to do it, if you have people that around you are willing to like push you, and if you're willing to just say, I have no choice, like this is where I'm at. And I think what you said earlier about, if you're 370 and you go down 340, you feel like people don't notice the change. But it's kind of, that's kind of sometimes how life is, right? Sometimes for all of us, where it's like you're doing something, you're grinding it out. You're like, me and Dave always talk about this, because we pretty much have the same kind of long day. We kind of leave the gym around. It's like 10, 11 at night. We're going to bed probably midnight, coming back, starting it over. We're doing the pocket journals, and then you're like, you don't really know what the outcome is, but you just kind of do it, and you're kind of like, nah, it's gonna be good. You almost think of it like working out, like, no, there's gonna be some kind of breakthrough or some point, and you kind of have to do it off of like faith. Like, I'm gonna get there and get there and get there, and pretty soon you just don't think about it, and then you meet good people, like meeting you and other people that we've talked to. It just happens, and you're kind of like, oh shit, it is working.
Well, I like to think about that in terms of like, well, what's the alternative though? Like, if you don't do all of that stuff, for sure, nothing's going to happen.
Nothing changes.
You know what I mean? I think that's like, it's kind of obvious when you put it that way, but like, unless you're going to put, whether it's going to work out or not, if you don't put in the time, it's for sure not going to work out. And like, that's definitely something that it's kind of been just kind of like a constant theme in my life. Like, I've done a lot of things. I've been around for a while now. I do hard things. I work in technology. Technology is just like fast changing industry. And I've gotten pretty far in the industry. Like, I never went to college, didn't do any of that stuff. But I've always been a motivated person. I love learning. I love wanting to know how things work. I love putting in the time, putting in the effort to like really understand things, just because I know there's going to be good that comes on the other side of that. And that's always been true. Not to say that there isn't like bad times. Everybody has bad times. I mean, like, it's just, that's also part of like the human condition, right? But, like it will always end up good on the other side if you put in the effort. And even if it's in ways that you never even intended in the first place, like there's so much of my career just in general where I've ended up just kind of a little bit of right place and right time when you think about it. But when you actually like really dissect what's going on, right place, right time doesn't happen if you're not putting in the effort. You'll never end up in that situation where you're in the right place at the right time, talking to the right person, because you never even went out and did any of that in the first place.
You never even attempted it. Do you feel like how you talked about the before and after? Do you feel like in that place, did you ever feel like I know a lot of people struggle sometimes with like the mental health part of things, and I always tell people it's like, and it's not always. I've seen guys that are healthy that still struggle with the mental health part, but a lot of it I think comes down to, like you said, is changing your mind and doing things for the right reason. And what is your even though it sounds like kind of corny, like what is your why, but it's like really what's driving you. And did you feel like there was any times when you weren't doing any of that stuff where it just felt like a lot, or you weren't happy with the situation, and that kind of ended up prompting you? Just because I see a lot of guys sometimes where they're like, they kind of like, I don't know, they hold it in, and when you kind of see them sometimes, like there's a couple guys I know, and they're fit guys too. It's not even so it's not always about weight. It's just about where they're holding something in, and then they're finally like, fuck, I couldn't just take it no more, and then something just happens, and they just have to turn their life around. It's either they turn their life around or they just destroy themselves. It's like almost one or the other. It seems to be like in our DNA.
Well, I mean, at the weight I know that I was, headed to probably an early grave, if we're being like totally honest about that, right? Like, and like, I'd be lying to you if I didn't say that wasn't a part of like what impacted, all of this too. I mean, I never had a doctor tell me, like, hey, you're going to die tomorrow kind of thing. But, I've being that kind of weight for a very long time. The amount of doctors are telling me, hey man, you need to get your, crap in order because like it's going to be a problem at some point in time.
They start throwing different pills at you and stuff
for
that.
sure.
That's kind of a subtle signal.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're in your 20s, like again, I was big then too. Like, what's the doctor know? They'd be like, they're the doctor, but like, I'm invincible, right? I'm 20 years old. I'm gonna live forever, right? Well, that's not true. You start getting into your, mid to late 30s where I'm at right now. I could feel it in my joints being that heavy, my knees, stuff like that. And I think I just realized I was grinding towards an end that I didn't want to have, And I had a friend of mine actually had a heart attack at 37, I think he was, 36, 37. Yeah, he's a little bit older than me. And just watching him go through all of that, I'm like, man, dude, I got to do something about this. Right? I mean, I want to be around for my kids. I want to be around for my kids' kids. I want to be around for all those types of things too. And again, like no bad's going to come out of that. My kids, if they come out of this with a healthy understanding of what it means to be healthy, what it means to be active, to be fit, and what that actually does to your life and your mentality and how you think about things, then I've succeeded. I'm not doing this for anybody else, but myself, my family, and my kids. Like that's the other thing is like it doesn't have to be big. Do it for yourself.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's like that's your world. You know what I mean? You're impacting the people that love you and care about you, and that's good enough. It doesn't have to. You don't have to make some kind of world shift, but it does. People like I'm pretty sure that will like see you talking about this, and it's like. You doing it sometimes inspires other people, and it's weird the way I've noticed that with just life. Like sometimes what a stranger does can impact you more than what the people around you do. Because sometimes the people around you, not that they enable you, but everyone's like, oh yeah, that's all. Fuck, he's always been like that. Yeah. But then you hear someone else say, nah, you don't got to be like that. Yeah. And that just pushes you to the right place.
Yeah. Even the other side of that too is like those kinds of things are kind of what helped keep me on track too. Yeah. Like when other people notice, like, hey man, you're looking good, or like somebody I haven't seen in a while, a couple of months, they're like, oh my gosh, like you lost a lot of weight, like that type of stuff. Like that's the most important part in all of this in terms of like keeping yourself on track. Yeah. Like you need to like pay attention to those signals, pay attention to kind of like the things that you're experiencing in your life because they matter and they're important. Don't, like it's really easy to be weight obsessed when you're a big dude. You'll look at the scale. And I mean, even for me, like I was pretty consistently losing about 2 pounds a week. That was kind of like what I was shooting for in all of this. But you walk in, there would be a day where you put on like 3 pounds and you're like, I don't even know what I did differently between yesterday and today. But like, don't let that like lead your life. Like think about all of the things that are actually impacting, when you look in the mirror and you can see a muscle that you've never had before, you're like, man, like that's good. Like latch onto those things and let those things kind of like fuel your fire,
Yeah, and it's all the way you said the like people acknowledging that when, hey, you're losing weight, and that's kind of the to me it's the fist bumping in the gym. Yeah. That's literally what it is. When people ask me, they're like, how do you know all these people from the gym, or how do you enter? And I said, well, my whole theory behind that is I see people sometimes working out hard and no one acknowledges them, and not that they need acknowledgement, but I see them grinding, I see them doing their thing. And you're just like, well, maybe that person needs a little, maybe they're on the verge of not coming because they feel like they don't see enough change. So I'll be like, nah, you're doing good. I've seen it. And you see it when their face. And I always tell people, that's how the reason I do that is because I had a guy that did that for me, not even for the gym. It was for being a cop. Yeah. I didn't know this guy, didn't have any interaction with them. I went to a job interview. He's like, no, I think you could, he's all based off your background in the military, you should go be a cop. Just based off that conversation, changed the trajectory of my career and where I was doing. So to me, I kind of believe like, okay, well, I should do that for people. You know what I mean? I should do the same thing. So that's kind of like what I try to do is just, like, hey, say what's up, acknowledge when they see someone doing good. It doesn't hurt you. It's free.
Yeah. So. And you don't get that kind of support though in like every place, But one thing that we're actually very fortunate with here is the community that we've built. I mean, it's actually all very personal. I mean, and everybody starts to get to know each other. You see yourselves around. And it's just, it does feel like kind of like a home. When you come here.
If they come late to the gym, Dave will tell them you're getting fat.
Lazy ass. What took you so long?
Yeah. I will say that is a unique thing about this place. I've been to other gyms and stuff like that. I was the kind of guy that would never talk to anybody. Just come into the gym, kind of like do my thing. You can ask Dave. Like I actually talk to people here, which is like wild to me. And it's because like kind of as you're saying, like part of it for me is like I want other people to realize like like if you're sitting around there, like, by the way, let's like message here, like if you're sitting around there, like wondering like, should I go to the gym? Should I, like, take the first step? It's all you need to do, right? Like take the first step. And I want, if I can just encourage somebody like, hey man, like that's a lot of weight that you're doing there. Like, you know, keep it up. Or I've seen you in the gym a couple of times. Like, like those little things that you're mentioning, like that's super important. Like that little thing could absolutely keep somebody like in the game, keep them going. Like you don't know what they're going through on a day-to-day basis. Everybody has so much stuff that's happening. And as you mentioned, that kind of stuff's free, but it's also just good in general. Like I appreciate that somebody else is putting in the hard effort. Like I know what that looks like because I'm going through it myself. And it's a bit of a shared experience kind of thing, right? You know, like again, I wasn't in the military, but you know, like it's kind of that whole thing of like, you know, if you're in the, you know, the foxhole with somebody else, like I mean, that's how you build camaraderie. Yeah, you become brothers with that person like immediately, you know. And this kind of thing here, especially lifting weights, where like, you know, I'm very intentional about how I lift weights. I'm going to failure when I'm lifting weights. Like that is, you know, where the muscle growth comes from and all that kind of stuff. And that's hard. You're kind of in battle like every single day. Like you're fighting the muscle, you're fighting, you know, the weights and stuff that you're pushing.
Well, if you think about it, you know, for men, you know, one of the things is like it's in us to want to do certain things, right? We want to protect, we want to provide. We don't hunt animals really anymore. So the gym is like our new area to like improve yourself and you want to challenge yourself. And that's how you instill confidence. You meet other like-minded men and it's that constant, that's what it is to me, what it is. And that's what instills like camaraderie. I've always felt like men are seeking purpose. And when you have purpose, it drives you a lot farther than just kind of wandering and not having it. And I think that's like what Dave said with the community and what you're talking about with the community in the gym. It does make a big difference because if you're just, and I get it, people always want to come and lock in and do their own thing, but you can only go so far. We used to tell people like you're not bigger than the group. And not because you're not an individual, it's just because you can't do everything by yourself. You know what I mean? You can't, sometimes you're going to have like you said, a bad day and it's not going to go your way. Maybe like, but if you learn to like control your, you know, emotions and say, hey, I need to, you know, change my mind when I come to the gym, it helps you. And it has long lasting effects on your life and your personal life, everything. People like, there's so much value to it, to just working out. It's crazy. I even saw a TED talk about that where the lady said like, what did she say? Like, what if I told you there's something that could change your life and it would do all these things? She named all the benefits of it. Work out. Absolutely. We're like, like,
well, for me, weightlifting and like, let's be clear, all the other times I've failed at losing weight was because I tried to do cardio, like just massive amounts of cardio. That and I tried to outwork my diet, which is like also impossible to do. When you really sit down and start thinking about it, you go, man, this donut's 200 calories and I'm gonna have to go run on the treadmill for an hour to burn that off. Like that's not worth it, you know? Like just stop eating the donuts.
Learn the value of the donut.
Yeah, for sure. The thing I like about weight training though is like it's consumable in a way that like, you know, like if I were to wake up tomorrow, let's say I was 370 again, wake up tomorrow, I'm 370 pounds and like had to do this all over again. Like it would be easy for me to just like not do it because it's so much weight to get down to 220 where I'm wanting to go to. Like it's so easy to just walk away from that. But if you come into the gym, like the thing I can do is I can do one more rep than I did yesterday. You know, like that's a small thing that you can like latch onto. That is a little success, you know?
And like 5 more pounds this week than I did last week. You know.
And it sounds like dumb, right? Like what's 5 pounds at the end of the day? But I can tell you when I first started working out, my wife, who also works out here, like she was as strong as I was, which was like a weird thing for me. I hadn't worked out like since I was in high school. We came into the gym. This was before I was a part of this gym. And we're doing like bench press and stuff like that. And she's as strong as I am. And I'm like, that's crazy, you know, like, but how did I get to kind of like where I am right now? It's 5 pounds, 1 rep here, you know, compare myself to where I was yesterday. Like that's really the ultimate benchmark at the end of the day, right? Like I could look at all the social media influencers, all the dudes that are like, you know, ripped out of their mind and like all that kind of stuff. And like, I'm not actually into this for that. I want to be healthy. I'm, you know, and like, for me, building that strength, that core, the muscles, to be able, the stuff to be able to just support me. And again, I'm also getting to the point where I'm almost 40 years old. Like I'm also thinking about like long term, like what does this mean for myself? And I know that if I can't put on the muscle now, I'm for sure not going to be able to do it when I'm 60. And at that point in time, it's already too late. You know, like your trajectory of muscle growth is already downhill, you know, at that point in time. And so, you know, I really wanted to just make sure that I'm constantly kind of progressing, right? It's the progressive overload thing when you're starting to talk about like building muscle and all that. Like that, though, is so much easier to consume than I need to lose 150 pounds.
Yeah.
Like
day by day, you're just kind of taking it like small, like small wins rather than thinking like, okay, I got to lose 150 pounds. You're just like, okay, I got to be consistent and then kind of build on the consistency. And then it adds, pretty soon you get to where you're going, but you do it like small changes.
Yep.
And then it like translates into like just about everything else you do. And I find, you know, with myself, I mean, with the working out, I mean, having that sort of a commitment and whatever, doing the hard, I mean, it ends up being part of how you show up in everything else you do.
Yeah.
You know, it just accomplishes that one primal, you know, force of movement.
Yeah.
You know. And you can just pick that up in everything else. It becomes easier, and you know.
Yeah, and human life is just built like that, right? Yeah. Like everything is, whether we see it this way or not, everything is a constant clash of force, right? And are you going to push back harder than the thing's going to push back on you, right? Yeah. Whatever that thing is, whether it be
battle wills. Yeah,
and it could be simple things, right? Like, oh my God, dude, I have 10,000 things to do around my house. I got dishes to do. I've got trash to take out. And I also want to be like super clear. I'm not a perfect person, right? You go to my house, there's all kinds of stuff that's not done. Like
absolutely.
But like that doesn't, you know, the difference between me and like previous me, I'd have looked at all that stuff and I would have just given up. You know, now I know that I can just like one thing at a time, like just start knocking it out, and over time you'll get to where you want to get to.
We used to call it, that's why I use that term, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. That's kind of that term in the military. We used to do it. And they used to teach us that, like, you know, so you start off slow, pretty soon you get smooth with it, and then you become better, and like you're not thinking about it. That's what I call like kind of the flow state of things. When once you get there, you kind of know like, dang, I'm in a good place right now, and you get there. You just get there through sets and reps and consistency and trying and learning what works and what doesn't.
And I would say the thing that kind of like helps with that too is building in systems into like your daily life, right? I know in previous attempts to lose weight for me, I never really thought too much about macros and like all that kind of stuff. This time around, I was staying really high on my protein intake when I was losing all this weight. And that was a massive game changer and all this stuff.
Can't go wrong, just eat meat.
Yeah, well, I mean, dude, like the satiating power of like protein is wild. Like I could sit down and down a can of Pringles like right now. You know, 800 calories. And then I would still be just as hungry as I was before I started eating that can of Pringles, you know? So like this time around, you know, I structured everything around kind of like, you know, high protein intake and like these things that would be satiating. And that was like massive for me.
Whole foods and things like that nature.
It's you eat real food, man, and then your body, it doesn't keep telling you it needs more.
Absolutely.
It's kind of crazy how you kind of feel like sometimes as humans, we try to outsmart like, you know, God and nature, like we think we know better, and then you end up going back to like, I guess we're not, you know what I mean? But like we think like that ding dong is good, but if I would have ate an apple and a banana, and like you start realizing like, dang, it's like all the things that are, it really comes back to keep it simple and what's available to you already.
You know what's hard about that though is you go walk into the grocery store and that's like 10% of what's in the grocery store is that.
But I actually learned to, and I don't know if you feel like this yet. I've learned to, like, for me, and I think Dave probably think we think the same way. Learn to thrive where other people like that's. It's not like I'm like going there and be like, oh fuck ding dongs or things. To me, it's like I just don't even care anymore. It doesn't it doesn't tempt me because I've been doing this for like so long that it just becomes more of a like. I was like, okay, whatever. Because people always ask, don't you want to drink? Like, you want to, because I don't really drink or anything like that. Like, don't you miss drinking or having a drink? I'm like, no, I just don't care. I just like, I'm too focused on what I'm doing to care about anything else besides. And I said, and if I do it, it's to celebrate something, not just because, you know, I just feel like, I don't know. I just like, my mindset is just different about it.
I think that's probably one of the more interesting things in all this, because I've had the same experience. Like, I thought that when I lost all this weight, what I would want to do is go back to what I was doing before. Like, all right, cool. Like I lost all this weight. Now I can go have the Oreos, right? Like now I can go, you know, eat the cake or whatever. It's weird to me because I don't want to do that now, you know? And it's actually because that food, like even for me, it doesn't even represent food anymore. It represents the difference between healthy and unhealthy, right? Like I am looking at that as like, okay, I could, you know, have this glass of whiskey. Previous me would have loved to have had this glass of whiskey. But like, how is that going to make me feel tomorrow? How is that going to help me towards like my goals of being healthy? It's not. So I'm going to cut that out. And that part's been, again, as wild to me, because I just assumed that I was going to get to the end of all this stuff. And you always hear people talk about, like, you know, when you cut out like the ultra processed foods and like the high sugar stuff, that like your taste for like other things changes. Like, you know, like I love vegetables, I love fruits, all these types of things, stuff I never ate before, like at all. And what's weird about it is it's not even a taste thing. Like there is like portions of that are true, that like these types of things become a little bit more tasty. But for me, it's that it represents a path towards my end goal, which is to be healthy, you know? And like that ends up becoming like the driving factor in like your decision-making process. And that overrides like everything else, you know?
Yeah, it makes you look at everything a little bit different. Like it's almost like you said, a battle of wills. Like what I want more. And it's not, and people sometimes think you're depriving yourself, and you're not depriving yourself. You want who you're becoming more than you want who you used to be. And and now you're just like, it kind of sounds, it's funny, like that old saying, but you're just like killing the old you slowly.
Oh, 100%.
You know? You also come to the realization that what you're moving towards that is not really a destination. I mean, it's just a continuous
process.
Yeah, absolutely. You know? And you know, you're talking about like you're constantly like you're depriving yourself. Yeah. When I was 370, I was depriving myself of like almost all the other joys in life. You know what I mean? Like just being able to like go out and run, play with my kids. Like, you know, like would I want to trade any of that stuff for the ding dongs, the Oreos, and all that kind of stuff? I mean, when you put it that way, no. Like that's, you know, it doesn't make any sense.
And that's like the biggest takeaway I think from all of it is, you know, and why we're trying to always like push that message. Me and Dave were talking about it yesterday. We were joking around about starting like a series where we're gonna go on Instagram and say like, what was it? We were joking around. It's like, get off your
get off your fat ass.
We're gonna say if your name starts with the letter A, get off your ass today and go to the gym. Stop making excuses. And
some kind of weird anti-motivation.
Aggressive motivation, we're gonna call it, something like that. And it wasn't to make people feel bad, but it's just kind of to like stop like you're like selling yourself short. And you know, and tell people, like I said, I enjoy like I like dessert. Like if I'm gonna eat anything, it's dessert. But as far as like alcohol or anything, I don't really care for that stuff. But it's like you can still have that once in a while, but doesn't mean I'm like going around just like, let me eat all the ice cream I can. And I don't. And then I feel like when you start putting in so much work towards the other positive side of it, it's really hard to justify like, okay, I want to just go out and like, you know, pig out right now. You don't even feel like it, and you may even get a taste of something and be like, no, it doesn't taste the same to me no more.
Yeah, those things are not a part of your identity anymore.
They lost their luster.
Yeah, absolutely.
The ding dong shiny doesn't shine as much as it used to.
Absolutely.
They don't give you anything. They just take it away.
Yeah. You also got to give yourself permission to fail. Like that's another thing that's I think super important in all this. Like it's a journey, right? Like there's not a straight line from unhealthy to like healthy. Like that's not a thing. Yeah. There's going to be parts where, I went over Christmas and I'm like, dude, there's no way I'm going to be able to get through Christmas without like putting on a little bit of weight. And like I did, you know, like it is what it is. But then I just came back afterwards and got back to it, you know, like, you know, don't be so hard on yourself. I see so many people that, and myself included in previous attempts at this, where it's like, oh my God, dude, like I went out and binged this week. I might as well just like
give up,
you know, call it a day, right? Give up. Like,
no, dude, hear the Cheetos calling.
Yeah. That's the time. Just like lean in. Like, all right, cool. I fucked up. All right, whatever. Like, move on.
Well, Dave has a whole theory. It's like that self-sabotage, you know, that narrative. It's sometimes the people, even when they're doing good, they need to find a reason to say, well, you know what? No, I'm not doing good. You know what I mean? I fucked up. So now it gives you a reason to kind of to go back.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Cop out.
It's your internal narrative.
Yeah.
You know, if it's become like a habit to like just expect bad things over and over and over again, your brain actually prioritizes that because it's comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it doesn't want to be uncomfortable. So it's just going to go with the narrative. It's like, I'm going to lose. Everything's going to suck.
Yeah.
It's just keep, you know, going down the hole, you know, and it's hard to dig yourself out of that.
Yeah, dude, walking into the gym was for the first time was like one of the most uncomfortable things like I've ever done in my life, dude. I'm like,
why are all these girls naked in here?
Why are all these dudes naked? No,
why do these guys all have shirts on in here?
Yeah, turns out I walked into the wrong gym. I'm more like I don't have any like experience in all this kind of stuff, and like you walk into the gym, there's so much equipment out there, like you know, like where do I even start?
Right,
somewhere.
Yeah.
Jump into some machine, do something, work out some
pick
of your
up a
muscles.
weight, lift it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Make it simple.
Yeah.
Like, that's the other thing I find, like, actually, it's a super interestingly hard thing to get through in today's, like, modern age is you can find anybody on the internet that will tell you what you want to hear. Anybody.
And what you don't want to hear.
Yeah. But the thing about it is, like, simplify it. Just go in, do some work. It doesn't have to be some optimized way of doing curls or bench presses or whatever. I swear, if you just do some bench presses, some squats, some curls, like, you know, normal stuff, you will see progress, especially for somebody that's never done it before. Like, I was in that category. I had, like, really never done any of that kind of stuff. I was gaining muscle while I was losing weight, which is like massively hard to do. And it's because I was untrained, you know, before. You know? I've definitely plateaued on that, you know, at this point in time, which is why I'm trying to get back into maintenance and stuff. But like, just get in, do some stuff, and like, you will see progress and all that.
Oh yeah.
And also, don't be shy to ask anybody.
Yeah.
You know, you see somebody working out, you know, they're hitting some of the marks that maybe you want to hit or something like that. Say, man, what are you doing? You know, can you help me out with this and all this? And you'll find that all over the place in here. But people love to jump in and just like, you know.
You know what's funny about that is like, it's all the scary gym bros. You're like, oh my God, dude, that dude is like intensely doing something. Dude, but if you ask him about that, he's going to want to share with you because he's been thinking about it forever. Like, he's like mastered the thing that he is doing. Yeah. He would love nothing more than have somebody come in and ask him, like, hey, dude, how'd you build that back? Like, that's massive, you know? And he's going to tell you exactly what it is, you know?
Oh, yeah. Are we doing on time ago? We're good?
Yeah, if you want to wrap it up a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, we'll just get it. I think for closing out with, I don't know if there's anything you want to end it with to leave like the message. I liked your message earlier. We were talking about, you know, not giving up if you failed and missteps, and it's not always a perfect you know, plan. I like this. It is different. Everyone's journey is a little bit different. I think that's the point of us with the podcast, to kind of show like, hey, you know, everyone's had different life experiences, but we all have commonalities that kind of like bring us together to like we can like help each other. Yeah.
I mean, failure is a natural part of progress, I think, is maybe, I guess, how I would say that. Again, Jim teaches you that all the time because I'm constantly failing lifts because, you know, it's how I'm building muscle. But, like, you know, I think keep it small, keep it incremental, keep it stuff that you can actually kind of attain, right? Keep yourself motivated. Do what you need to do to be motivated. If that's taking a little bit of time off, that's also a good thing, too. You know, like, you have to be able to do what you need to do to be able to stay, you know, fresh and stay in the game and all that kind of stuff. And I just take it one step at a time. Don't let one step back turn into 2 steps back, into 3 steps back. Like, that's the time where you really need to kind of like dig in, and you will experience that. Everybody experiences that. I experienced that so much just like over my journey. Like I said, you know, you put on a little bit of weight here and there, and it's water weight or whatever. But, you know, I'm thinking like, oh my God, like 3 pounds of fat. What did I do wrong this week? Nothing. It'll change. It'll be good, you know? But give yourself permission to fail, permission to be uncomfortable, and permission to try new things. And just evaluate how that's going, you know, and just take it one step at a time. As, you know, I very much believe, especially in today's kind of like day and age with social media and all that kind of stuff, that like, because I'm very anti-social media, actually, just compare yourself to who you were yesterday. I know that's a very common saying, but like, that's the most important part. If I'm a better version of myself than I was yesterday, then I have succeeded, and I can move on to the next day and continue on down that path. And I will say that, at least for me, like, getting to the other end of this has been transformative for me. I am an entirely different person, not just in looks, but in mentality, how I think about things. And that journey will always be worth it.
There's a guy, Greg Pilt. Have you ever heard of him? He was a Ranger guy. He like died, doing some crazy like little stuff. But he had some good speeches, and one of them he says, he's all there gonna be people at work that know you as the old Greg. He's talking about himself. He's all when you start turning to the new Greg, they're gonna be telling you, oh look at you're the old Greg. And he's all, you're gonna tell him I'm the new Greg, bitch. Here I am. Kick down the door. I can't remember the exact words, but it just kind of like that. I killed the old Greg.
My wife's ongoing joke has been that, because my name's Shane, she's like, you know, that was Shane, now you're Sean. She's giving me a whole new name. Like, I'm a totally different person.
Give you a more sexy name.
For sure. I don't know that Sean's more sexy than Shane.
Right. You have anything to add at the end, Dave?
No, well, I gotta say, I mean, I've been here for like a lot of Shane's process and stuff like that. It's been a great thing to watch, and he's a great asset to this place. Love having him come in. We've had like some pretty good talks, like at the front desk, you know, coming in and just laying down some knowledge or some insight or something like that. And it's a privilege to know you, man. And,
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said before, anybody that's out there like waiting to take the first step, just take it. That's it. That's all you got to do. Everything else from there is kind of downhill.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I have a question for you. It's really inspirational what you did, right? Or what you've been doing.
Yeah.
For me, I know setting goals is a big way to get to where you need to be.
Yeah.
What was your first big goal?
So, being over 300 pounds, like I wanted to hit under 300. Like that was like a big kind of goal for me. But, what's interesting about that is after I got under that, I had started to see like musculature and stuff kind of like start showing up when I started to hit like 270, 280 and stuff like that. So like my first goal was that I wanted to get under 300. And I guess tangentially to that, I mean, health-wise, like I wanted to get my blood pressure in check and all that kind of stuff, all these health markers, that kind of stuff. But yeah, that was kind of like my first goal. And that sounds like it was pretty far off being, 370 as I was, but like, you can, it's really not. I mean, to get to 370 was like 10 years of, overeating and not exercising to get there.
No, that's a good goal. Cause I think sometimes people, they say, sometimes people, they don't ask for enough.
Yeah.
They don't, instead of saying they're like, I want to just do this good. Yeah. It's like when they're like, well, what do you really want?
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Ask for it. Like believe in like, and then you almost overshoot and you're like, fuck it. Yeah, I do want that.
Yeah. Well, so that's actually a really good point. I had never really thought about that in the sense of like, if you look at like, I use an app to track like all my macros and stuff like that. When I first set up with it, my goal that I put in there was 220. Like, so I was like aspirational. Like that was like where I wanted to get to. I just knew that like I was going to burn out pretty quickly because 220 was so far away that I needed to put like something in there that I could say like, hey, I hit this mark, I got there. And then, again, once I got under 300, it was less about that. And I started to like, my marks were more like lifting weights, kind of like, pushing the weights and stuff like that and getting higher reps, more weight, all that kind of stuff. And then like, it became other things. Like I started running for the first time. I haven't run since I was like 20 years old. It's like been 19 years since I last ran. I'm out there running. I'm like the whole like Ricky Bobby thing from Talladega Nights. I'm like, dude, what do I even do with my hands while I'm running? Like it's been so long. But like, dude, like unlocking those things, like those are the like things in my mind that like really keep me going. Like these are like hugely important things. It doesn't sound like that important to be able to like run for a little while, but like the number of adults that like actually run past their like the age of 30, it's like single digits, like percentage.
Well, everything you're saying is actually really important. That's why people like you talk about with social media and things like that. They don't understand that some of these things. That's why obviously if you see people that are successful with money or big house, but they're ultimately still unhappy. A lot of times it comes down to those simple things. They're not happy. They don't have those simple things like love, family. They have their purpose. They're like they may not be healthy, but they're super rich, and then they're like, why don't I feel happy? It's like because your mind is still the same. It's like what I don't know how they said it. Like you live like a king, but you have you're wealthy, but you're worthless. That's what it is. And so that's kind of the term I kind of started like using for that. It's like having people that don't have a abundance of like their mind, but you see people that don't have as much and they're like super happy. Like fuck it.
Yeah,
crazy.
Absolutely.
All right, well,
cool.
Yeah. That was a good question, Miguel. I like that. We'll wrap it up. If you want to come to the Gain Station Gym and put on some muscle or lose some weight, go ahead. We'll give you some exercise. If you ask me, I'm gonna just tell you to do burpees. I'm gonna be like, you know, fucking burpees.
I haven't done a burpee in like 20 years either. So I guess that's my next thing.
There you go.
There's always people that will help you exercise and things like that. We appreciate Shane coming on the show. That's really cool. All the insight. Maybe we'll do like a part 2. I like all this stuff. We didn't even get into your whole AI.
We can explore anything. I'm an open book.
It'll be cool. And that's definitely a good conversation. And that's it, man. We'll wrap it up. Thanks, Miguel.
Cool.